Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and today we are going to install a pile of Wet Okole seat covers in the 2020 Ram Rebel. Now, before you get all up in arms over the fact that I'm covering up a pretty nice interior, so the Ram Rebel does have a nice interior. Let's take a quick look at that. So the embroidery is nice. You get some perforated leather or perforated vinyl leather in the middle of the seat. Some nice solid on the outside of the seat. Overall, the seats do look awesome. However, hear me out. I have kids, so you see one of the car seats back there. I have a dog, and I hunt. I don't think these seats are going to handle all of that abuse that all three of those factors are about to throw at them. So that said, I went ahead and picked up a full set of the Wet Okole seat covers. So if you've been following my channel for a little while, you know I'm a big fan of the Wet Okole seat covers, and typically I get them in the camo patterns. However, given there's already a lot going on the inside of the Ram Rebel between the red interior, the black leather, and the gray accents, I really didn't want to throw too much additional color in there. So I kept it really simple with this set, even compared to my wife's Explorer, which has the black with the gray inserts. On this set, I went completely black, and really the only little hint of color that I'm throwing at it is the Wet Okole logo. But with the exception of that, the whole cover itself is all black, which I like. I think it's going to be a nice, discreet look, and it's going to give me the protection that I need inside the truck. So like I said, right now I usually have two car seats in there. Right now I got the booster, and I removed the other car seat just to kind of show you, flip it up and everything. But I'm using these little Eddie Bauer seat covers, and these things suck. They slide around. They're kind of a pain in the ass to put back in. If you take the car seat out and you're trying to put this in there and you're trying to flip the car seat in there, the back keeps falling down like that. So we're going to get rid of these. These were only a temporary solution for the car until I was able to pick up the set of Wet Okole seat covers. But the other thing in the back, so since I always have car seats in here, one of my fears is that the car seat with the kids getting in and out, they're going to constantly wear marks into the leather, and then by the time they're out of it, I'm going to have all these marks left over in the seats. So the Wet Okole covers are going to be there as kind of a first line of protection against the car seats wearing those marks, particularly up on the headrest with the convertible car seat. So we got the Recaro convertible car seat, and this back portion right here will rub up against the headrest of the rear. So I have a hat on there right now. All right, so let's go back to the covers that I got. So what did I get? I got the front row and I got the back row. The front row comes with the backs of the seat, which slide on. This is an option, so I got the pockets on the back. Now with kids, then they're going to want to put their iPads and magazines and coloring books and whatnot in the back. The bottom portion of the front seats uses straps. So after you put on the back, you start with the bottom portion. You guide these straps up underneath the seat over the wires and everything out of the way, and then you clip them. You don't need to make it Hulk tight, but then that fits on the bottom portion of it. And then you got the headrest cover, which goes over the headrest of the seat. We have the center console cover, and then again we got the passenger side. These are compliant if you have airbags in your seat, and most cars these days do have that. So the way they prepare for that, let me see where it's at. So this is the driver's side seat. So you can see there's like the sleeve here, and that goes on the side that the airbag is. So this will go on the outboard side of your seat. So if you don't have the tags in here that say driver's side or passenger side, you could always look at this portion and see where the side of your airbag, or where these little pockets are for your airbag, and that will be the outside of the seat. So in this case, that's the driver's side, passenger side. So then in the rears, I have the 60-40 split. So the 60 portion has the armrest in it. So what you get here is the provisions cut out for the backrest. This will tuck inside the armrest little cubby hole, and then this will wrap the armrest. You also get the headrest covers, as well as the back and the bottom. The back seats are inverse of the front. So the back of the backrest will strap on, and then the bottom of it will slide on, slip over the bottom portion of the seat. Same with both sides. So in the rears, one of the things that I learned, especially in pickup trucks, that makes it really easy, particularly when it comes to the backrest, is just to pull the seat out. Honestly, it's only 4 bolts, so it's these 2 up front, and then it's the 2 bolts in the back, and then this portion will just pop right out. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and prep the truck, get everything ready, get everything cleaned up on the inside, and then we'll start with removing the rear seats so I could get the backrest and the bottom portion on. So first thing we're gonna do is remove the 40 portion of the rear seat. So on mine, the driver's side folds up, and then this portion of the seat is going to pop out. But before that, we need to take a E12 star bit and remove these 2 front bolts. So one there, one there. And then we need to take this 18mm socket and remove an 18mm socket back there, and then one there that I'm also using as my amplifier ground. So once you remove those, effectively this portion of the seat should pop right out. So it's also going to unbolt your seatbelt here, so be mindful of that. You might need to route that out. So we got the first seat out of the truck. This is the rear seat on the driver's side. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to use a jeweler's screwdriver, and there's a little square on the inboard side, or on the inside of the inboard post hole and the outboard side of the outside post hole. You're just going to push on that tiny little square, and that's going to allow us to pull the headrest up. So we'll do one at a time. The bottom, pretty easy to tell what size the top. There's seams on the top portion of it. It's going to look kind of like your OEM seat cover. And then what we're going to do is just go ahead and slide it over the seat. Okay, so after sliding the bottom portion on the seat, it just takes some monkeying around to get everything in place. You got this strap here, this elastic strap. The seatbelt portion that came off of the seat when you removed it is going to slip through here, just like it's slipped through the elastic on the OEM seat covers. It's just going to pop right through here, and that'll hold everything in place, and then just kind of situate everything. And once you're done with that, flip it over and Velcro the two seams in the back. Okay, we got the bottom portion of the seat cover on. Everything slipped in and Velcroed along the back, and I'll straighten everything out once I get the back portion on. I want to get the back on, then everything gets situated, because all this stuff's going to get kind of pushed around. So one thing I did do is on the back portion of the seat, this seat belt is through an elastic loop on the OEM seat covers. If you leave it in that loop, it doesn't allow the seat cover itself. I'll give you a better light. It doesn't allow the seat cover that you're installing to move all the way to the side of the seat. So you got to pull this out of the stock elastic and then just use the one that's on the Wet Okole. So the next thing we're going to do is slip the back portion on. And like I said, in the back of the seat covers, it uses straps. So it's pretty simple. Just undo the straps here, and then we will drape everything around the seat, and then make sure that these holes land around the post holes, or the mounting point for your headrest. And also make sure when you're doing the straps that you're not interfering with any of these clips that are going to hold onto the seat on the back wall of the truck. Okay, so I got the back portion on. Don't worry about how crooked it looks right now. I believe that's kind of how the seats sit inside the truck. But regardless, we have some adjustability. So when you are slipping the seat covers on, make sure you do pop them all the way around the post hole brackets here, I guess the post holes themselves. Then I went ahead and slipped the headrest cover on, and it's pretty hard to mess this one up because there's only one side that it goes on. So again, just like with the post hole covers where you slide the neoprene underneath the plastic molding piece, you do the same thing on the side of the headrest, and it gives it a nice factory look. So last thing I need to do, pop that guy in there. We'll go ahead and pop it down to make it easier to install, and then we'll throw it back in the truck. But yeah, overall, seat covers on the back, looks great. You can use a few things to line up. So you can use these little holes, access points here, to line up with the anchor points on your seat. That way you know they're accurate. And then you just kind of tuck all the neoprene around into some of the plastic trim wherever it's sitting. So the other thing I will say with these covers, they will settle after a while. So don't be afraid if you got some sagginess on top a little bit, or it's a little pillowy. After a while, they're going to settle in and start to take the contour of the seats. Especially if you have car seats sitting in the back seats, it's going to take shape a lot faster. Like I said, I'm going to probably go ahead and pull out that other side of the seat, or the other side of the rear seat now. That way I can work on it over here, and then we'll get everything thrown back in the seat. Pretty simple in the back seats. Again, 4 bolts, 2 in the front that are the E12, and in the back is an 18mm, and then they pop right out. All right, just wanted to catch up real quick. I did remove the 60 portion side, and I did lie. So there's actually, instead of 4 bolts that you remove, there's actually 5. So there is the star one, so the E12 up here, the E12 over there, 18mm in the back corner, 18mm over here. But there's also an 18mm holding this guy to there. So you just kind of undo that and pull the seat out, or the seatbelt out from in front of the seat, and then the seat itself pops out. Similar to how we did the little 40 portion of it, we're going to pop off the headrest. I'm going to slip on the bottom portion of it first, then we go ahead and do the back. And the only complexity with this one versus the single seat is this has the armrest in there, but basically what happens is that neoprene just tucks inside there, and then there's a second cover that goes around the armrest itself. Okay, so I started the 60 portion. I got the bottom loosely on, I got the back loosely on, and I wanted to show you just kind of how the cup holder or the armrest portion goes onto the back seat. So let me get a flashlight here. You see these, they got these little flaps here, and those don't just lay on the inside like that. What they'll actually do is tuck in just like that piece. So all of these little flaps are going to tuck inside this plastic piece, and there's enough slack or room in there that you can pinch it in there with your fingers. One thing I've found is if you just use a plastic trim panel tool, it just nicely slips everything in there. Just like in the GM video and the Chevy video, when you have an armrest in the back, don't be worried when you have a lot of slop in there, because after a while neoprene does end up taking shape. So once you put this on, leave the armrest up for a few days so everything can kind of mold to itself and shrink down, because you're stretching everything to put it on. So you want everything to kind of go back to its original size, and when it's tucked inside here, it's going to start to take the shape of the kind of the weird shapes a little bit better. Okay, so I have the back portion completely on here. I'm going to tighten up the straps in the back just a little bit, but I got everything tucked in there nicely, and this looks great. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It was a little tricky to get these corners up here. These are a little tight, but again, if you have the right trim tool, so you won't scratch any of the plastic inside here, it does make it life a lot easier. So I'm really happy with how well this back seat's starting to look. So I'm going to go ahead and do the last thing, which is slip this portion on there. And I love these things when they cut the fabric like that, because that just means it slips underneath here and gives it a really good factory look. So let's go ahead and get that guy installed, and then pop everything back in the truck and then start on the front seats. All right, so we finished up the rears, and I waited until the morning so I had a little bit better light to do the fronts. So I went ahead and already did the passenger side just to kind of do a test run. We're going to go ahead and do the driver's side now. So as far as order, the way it's going to work is we're going to remove the headrest. We're going to come back down here. We're going to install the lower portion of the seat cover, and then at the end we're going to install the back portion of it. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the headrest. So it's basically just going to recline the seat all the way back, and then push this little guy, and then the headrest will pop right out. Then the next thing we're going to do before we slide on the bottom portion of it, since it has those clips, we're going to go into the rear here, and there's a little flap here. Most seats have this, and there's two elastic straps holding it. So there's a strap there, and it's just hooked up underneath. What you're going to want to do is reach up underneath, unhook those, and that way this little flap will pull off, and it'll give you the ability to slip the straps that are from the bottom portion of the front seat cover all the way through. Because the other thing you're going to want to do when you are installing the bottom portion of it, you're going to want to have those plastic trim tools, because you got one strap that needs to basically, you got two straps in the front, so one here, and those go underneath, and then they clip to the pieces that you slip underneath the back here. But you're also going to have another strap that clips right about here, probably right about here, and what you're going to need to do is slip it underneath the seat. So using a plastic trim tool with the strap, you can just stick it down underneath there, and then pull the seat all the way up, and then reach underneath and pull the strap through. And then that side is easy because there's no trim. You just basically drop it down and pull it through. Being mindful when you're installing the bottom portion of the seat, know what moves with the seat and what stays still. That way you know what the straps can go up and around. And then before you start installing the front seat covers, make sure you're installing the right side. Most of these trucks these days have an airbag inside here, so you can see this is kind of the tear out panel. You want to make sure that the seat cover that you get from Wet Okole has that airbag area on the outside, so this thing isn't interfered with when it has to deploy. God forbid it ever has to. Okay, so I got the headrest removed, got the seat reclined back, and then I got the little elastic pieces off that flap in the back, so it'll give me access to pull this piece of fabric through once I slide it into the seat. So one thing I did want to show you is on the passenger side, you just had, I guess it was clipped a little bit backwards. You had that clip on the passenger side. On the driver's side, on the outside of it, where you have to slip the stuff through the trim, you have all these plastic clips. So one thing I've learned is if you just remove all these clips and you just work with the strap, you could reattach the clips because you're going to have plenty of slack once it pulls through in the back. It makes it easier to slide it through here if it's just a strap. You could try sliding it through with the plastic clips still on there. It's just a pain in the ass, and there's a lot of wires in here and you don't want to snag it on there. So best thing I recommend is removing the clips altogether. So you're just sliding the nylon strap through there, and then have your trim tool ready, because all you need to do, where did mine go? Here it is. All you need to do is just take it and then just drop it in there, and then just push everything through there. On the driver's side, there's or I guess on both front seats, there's a cutout here, or a little pocket that slips around your seatbelt, and that holds everything there. So you can basically use this as indexing. It'll tell you if you have the seat cover pulled too far back. But basically what you want to do is make sure that this seam here, this outer seam, is lined up with the seam on the OEM seat. Okay, so I have all the straps routed. This took a little bit of time, mostly because there's a lot of electronics in here, but ultimately that strap ended up going down right about there. So then I took the straps in the front and routed them from the front, and then I went underneath everything, so you can see it's loosely in there right now. But basically what you want to do is make sure that it's out of the way of any of the wires that are underneath there, and stay away from the yellow harnesses. So that back one right there, as well as this one, that's all the power and everything going into your seat, as well as the airbag signal. So what I like to do is I like to loosely put them on, and then I'll pull them taut from the back. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these guys, and then tighten the side to side strap here, and then I'll get the back on, headrest, and then we're good to go. So with the rears, we're going to slide it over the back, and then there's some Velcro down here. This piece of fabric, so the piece of fabric on the inside of the seat, this just slips down and then gets held into place with pressure. With the backs, there's kind of a two-part mounting system. So you got the hard Velcro here. This Velcros right to this edge, and then the flap portion, so you got this back flap, this basically pulls down and then clips underneath to the springs underneath the seat, just to hold everything nice and cleanly taut to the seat. All right, well, everything is installed and everything fits very nicely. Like I said, I can't say this enough, it's going to pillow a little bit like this in the beginning until you sit in it, really kind of break everything in. But after everything kind of comes back to its original size and it's stretched into the seat shape, everything takes shape. Trust me on this one, this is probably my 5th or 6th installation on these seat covers. That's what happens. It takes a little bit, but it will eventually happen. So everything's tucked in nicely, everything's situated, got my lines nice and symmetrical between the back and the front. Got the headrest on, and then the last thing I'm going to do is slip the armrest cover on. And basically what this is just a sleeve with a little elastic band. But ultimately what that does is protects that center console. And again, I understand the Rebel interior is pretty awesome. I do like the embossed logos. I like the Rebel stitching that was in here. However, I'm pretty hard on seats between my kids, myself, the dog, and hunting season, everything. The interior will get beat up. So the Wet Okole covers have done me well in the past, so I figured why not pick them up for this truck. All right, so I got the truck pulled outside just to get some daylight on the seat covers, and I am beyond ecstatic with how they turned out. They look awesome with the red and black Rebel interior. So I got the Wet Okole logo in here. I wanted to add a little touch of red, not too much. I didn't want to overwhelm the whole situation, but I wanted a little bit on there just to kind of tie everything in together. I think if they were just plain black, they'd look nice, but with a little bit of red in there, it's tasteful. Done properly. So seat covers are installed, and just a kind of quick review of the front. So on the fronts, we did the bottoms first. So once we installed these, then we went back through and did the tops, and then after that we installed the headrest with the headrest cover already wrapped onto it. So on both sides, same situation. Then we did the center console cover. So the way the center console cover goes on, it's just basically a slip fit cover. So once you get all the seams and everything tucked in there nicely, close it, it fits awesome. I may have something embroidered in here or silk screened in here. It looks like a lot of space here, and I think it'd be pretty cool to have a logo or something like that on. So if you got ideas, definitely drop them down in the comments. So going to the rears, pulled out my son's car seat since I just picked him up. But yeah, the rears turned out awesome. So it still gives you functionality onto the seat cover or onto the armrest itself. That armrest does fold up in there. It does take 2 hands because there's a lot of material right now. Like I said, we got the pockets, and my son's already using the pockets in the back with his little shades here. But yeah, overall these fit great, as well as any other Wet Okole covers I've installed on the trucks, and I'm very happy with how they turned out. These are a damn near perfect fit on the truck, about as perfect as you can get for covers that are going over the OEM covers. But yeah, it gives you all the nice seams on the side, and you still retain the functionality of being able to fold up the seats. Oh, one thing I will say, back on the front seat covers, if you are concerned about using seat heaters with these, they will work with your factory seat heaters. In the last 3 trucks that I've had, 4 trucks now that I've had these covers on, I've always had heated seats in there, and the heated seats have worked perfectly fine with these. I don't know how cooled seats work with these, since you kind of need the venting, but the heated seats definitely work perfectly fine. And again, you retain the functionality of the airbags and really everything else. Overall, for a little over $500 to do the whole interior on your truck, it's a huge change on the interior, definitely a durability increase, but I am extremely happy. Well, hope you guys appreciated the video, learned a little something, and maybe perked your interest in these seat covers. I'll leave a link to them in the description below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching another Waterfowler video. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.